Got Jesse back out in the garage again. So I got that rear strut tower reinforcement, shock tower all done. So I'm switching gears and I was going to start putting in these nice Delrin bushings that go in the rear control arm. So I got the old bushings all pressed out. Got things all goobered up. It said to use anti-seize. I think it could have done without and making a lot less of a mess. But as part of the instructions for all these, it says to straighten out these tabs. You can kind of see here, this one's like bowed in, like right along the back. Right along the back here. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that straightened out. So it comes with these crush sleeves. So one's longer than the other one, so the long one goes in the rear, and there was actually a little, like a thrust washer that was welded in here from the factory, so you have to pull that out of there and smooth it out. But the rear one, it didn't take much bending. It said to bend these tabs here until there's enough room to slide the crush sleeve in, which it looks like that one's pretty good. Let me see here. But the rear one has a little ways to go. But it looks like it's mostly this rear tab that needs to be straightened out. Or actually, I shouldn't say rear. This is the front of the car here. But I thought I'd do this with it all in the car, and you have to do the same with the upper ones. But I thought I'd do it all in the car, but this one sits like the frame rail comes right down through here. So you can't even see this one up in the car. So, and these were hard to get pressed up into the car, but I thought, you know what? Going to make my life a lot simpler to do a little extra work and just get this out of the car. So that's what I did. So got it all out in front of me here now so I can work on it easier. But I thought I'd just kind of go through some of this. Maximum Motorsports has really good instructions on how to do all this, so I'm not going to go step by step. I got this lower control arm. You can see that there's shims in there, so it fits pretty nicely in the bottom. I got the upper A-arm out, got shop supervisor, and I ended up pressing out one of the bushings, came out with the sleeve, and the other one decided to just let the inner rubber bushing slip out of the sleeve there. So I got a little work to do here, trying to get that out of there. Just went around with a chisel, but I think I'm going to need a second set of hands to try to pound that guy out of there. Just thought I'd take a moment to show this. So this is the side that had the sleeve stuck in it still for the bushing, so I ended up using just a hammer and a punch and a chisel and just basically beat a section of it over. So it's popped up in there like that, of course. So I just took a hammer and a chisel and started trying to pound a corner in basically, and kind of knock it in there. Then pounded around for a few minutes with the chisel and with the punch and got that knocked out. And like they said in the directions, once it pops loose about half an inch or something, it came right out. So I finally got all the pieces out of the upper control arm. So I'll switch to my Maximum Motorsports directions and see what I need to do to get these upper bushings in. I got them all in the freezer in the house right now, so hopefully I can get those pressed in nice and easy. Alright, so I thought I'd take a minute to record this, take a video of this. So as you know, I had one that really rounded out this washer, so it's basically came in from this side out, and it started mushrooming this inside of the, there's like a steel sleeve washer, thrust bearing, thrust washer on this bushing. So as you know, I had to pound the hell out of this one to get it out. So what I learned was there wasn't much thread left on here, so you'd start out with maybe a washer or two. And then I finally did add this third washer here. So I have kind of washers of increasing diameter that was just inside the diameter of that little thrust washer there. So you can kind of see that. 1, 2, 3 washers. And then it pressed out pretty nice and easy and kind of kept everything kind of flat. You could tell if you had 1 or 2 washers, they'd really start to bow. But by the time you added that third washer, and maybe this one was just a little bit easier to get out anyway. But anyway, I got all 4 of these. So the upper 2 and the lower 2 bushings out of the, what would this one be, the driver's side. So I'll work on getting those Delrin bushings in tomorrow. I got those 2 in the freezer, so they're ready to go. Then I just got to do the kind of the shimming of the ones that go in for the lower control arm. Alright, thought I'd take a moment and show this. So I've kind of turned this around, so I'm just looking at it from the other direction now. So this is the driver's side, but I got the driver's side A-arm installed, and I think this is right. It's supposed to not move absolutely freely, but be able to move by hand easily. It's a little bit stiff, but I think that's kind of the way I'd want it, so that this thing isn't sliding back and forth. You can see got 1 shim in the back there, can kind of see it. And then this side I did 3 thick shims on each side of this bushing, and it seems to work okay. So next step, move on to these upper ones. I'm going to pull this one out of the way, work on the upper ones, and then I'll have all these control arm Delrin bushings installed. Quick update on the rear end here. So I got all the Delrin bushings in, the lower control arms and the upper control arms. These ones are all mounted up to the IRS subframe, and those upper bolts are torqued to the specification on the instruction sheet, so 66 pound-feet. It said to go hand tight, or to snug them up lightly, and those control arms should fall under their own weight, which they did at the time. Now with them torqued to 66 foot-pounds, they do have a little drag on them, but I think that should be okay. So I kind of dusted things off a little bit because they were getting kind of dirty, and I'm ready to slop this back up under the car. And then I figured I'd get those lower control arms mounted after I get this up in the car, especially with the torquing of those bolts. All right, I'm trying to remember what I showed last on this guy. My next step is I need to get this engine and transmission and everything out of here, because there's no flywheel or no clutch on there. So I want to get that all in there. So I'm going to drop this engine back out of here, and then also get all the header bolts on and the header gaskets in there, so that when I do get all the fuel system in and the engine wiring harness, I can get this bad boy fired up.